All right. So again, Eric with a student at Arizona State, and then this is regarding a community partnership project, and it's basically an interview that I'm going to have to create a website on how to do like partnerships. So first, just tell me your name and the organization and your title, please.
Okay. My name is Naomi Howard, and I am with the Little Rock Air Force Base Education Center, and I am the lead education specialist.
Sweet. So first of all, we're going to start with working together for a common goal. The partnerships that you're going to be talking about, please share an overview of the partnerships and why they were created.
Okay, so the three universities that are located there at the Little Rock Air Force Base University Center are the ones that we have partnered with, and they have signed an agreement that allows them to help airmen and civilians there use meal TA, go to school, use other fundings that are available to them.
Cool. And then and what? So it's with the military. And then what are the universities?
Okay, the three universities are ASU BB, which is a community college here in the state, and they offer associate's degrees. They also offer a lot of courses that work well with CCAF degrees. Then we have Park University, which also offers associate's degrees, CCAF courses that are applicable, and they also offer bachelor's degrees. And then we have Webster, that is a master's degree program.
Okay, and then so just for abbreviation or for the abbreviation, so ASU is Arkansas State because I go to Arizona State, and then the CCAF is the Community College of the Air Force degree, which is a 2-year program that the Air Force offers. All right, so can you please share how partnerships have advanced the mission of your organization?
Oh, absolutely. So that agreement that we have with those universities allows airmen to work on their community college degree or allows them to work on their associate, bachelor's, or master's, which in the long term affects their career. So their partnership is strong, and it leads to a very well mission.
Right on. All right, cool. So theme number 2, forming partnerships. What type of partnerships have you formed, I guess, recently, or if there's anything possible that you could be forming?
Okay. So we do have one spot left for a university.
Okay.
So just prior to COVID, we took out and did a survey here on base, trying to find out what was needed. And so we are in the process now of gathering that data and trying to figure out what does our market need. So that could be anywhere from a nursing degree to a security force degree to IT. So we're in the process of that now, determining what we need on base.
Right on. And so when your organization forms a partnership, does it create a formal partnership agreement?
Yes, we do an MOU, which is a Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay. And then how does your organization organize or finalize a partnership agreement when it is formal, whether it is a formal agreement or not?
So it'll go through, I'm guessing, several chains. It's going to have to be signed. They also work with the DoD because of military tuition assistance.
Right.
So there's several things that are involved in the partnership, but there should be an MOU directly with the air base and the school.
Okay. Yeah, Arizona State has one also. Management and communication. So theme number 3.
Okay.
How is your partnership managed?
So there are some things that they have to do to maintain their office there at the university center. So one of those could be their student ratio. So they have to have so many students from the Air Force Base that are enrolled there at their campus.
Okay.
So they do have some things that they have to meet to stay there in our building.
Okay, and then this kind of leads right into the next question. Please describe a few of the challenges that your organization has faced during its partnerships, and how did it overcome the challenges?
Okay, so that MOU has guidelines in there. So if for example, us moving during the COVID pandemic, we had to move online, which meant we had no students on ground there at the University Center. So when it came to meeting those guidelines, we had to make some changes because we couldn't do in-person classes. So we had to make some changes to allow that to still work. Because we weren't able to do in-person events like ed fairs, that is also hurting their numbers because they haven't been able to meet with students and get new enrollments to keep their numbers up.
Mm-hmm. And then how have they been able to overcome those challenges?
So we have done some virtual ed fairs, which has allowed to bring in some of those numbers. And then we, the staff at the Ed Center, has went out on to do briefings and things like that at unit levels to allow that separate, because of COVID, we haven't been able to do in-person events at our center.
Right.
But we have been able to go to units and give that information, which in return brings in those numbers.
Cool. And then, so for more communication, do you have a communication plan?
Well, I mean, we're constantly watching to see where they are, and of course the schools are doing the same thing. They're keeping track of their in-person students to make sure that they're meeting the requirements of the MOU.
Yeah, and so how do you communicate with partners, and does your organization use email, newsletters, websites, conference calls, and or any other tools?
So it's kind of simple because they're just down the hallway. So a lot of times our ESO will just go down the hallway and say, hey, this is your numbers. And the schools are the same way. They'll come down to us and let us know, hey, our numbers are falling. We're doing this. I happen to be the marketing person for the schools. So we're constantly trying to come up with ways to keep the numbers up. So we're using all mechanisms. We have Facebook, we have email.
Newsletters?
Well, I don't know that we really have a newsletter. Now, the schools may have something. I know that they're very big in social media. So the schools may have a newsletter, and I'm not a student there, so I'm not aware of it.
And do you do any conference calls, or just meetings kind of at a room?
Yes, I actually meet with the 3 schools weekly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there is a lot of communication going on. So and of course everybody uses emails.
Right.
Theme number 4: work plans and activities. How do you eventually distribute the work within the partnership? How do you evenly distribute the work within the partnership? Excuse me.
Well, each school has their own MOU, so they have their own requirements that they have to meet. We try to, anytime we do events at our center, we keep them to all 3 of them. Okay. So if one school is doing something, the other 2 schools are doing something very similar, if not the same.
Okay. And then do you establish work plans to break down specific tasks?
If they do that, they're going to do that within their own school.
Okay, and then what about just on your side of the house?
So when it comes to an event we're doing, everybody plays a part. All 3 schools play an equal part. So those taskers are going to be equal to each one of them. So if I have one school doing what are you looking for for people to come into the building, it's across the board. They all 3 come to an agreement of what that looks like. Okay,
and then what is your strategy to hold people accountable?
So the strategy really is they want numbers, they need numbers to stay there. So as long as they are remembering and tracking their numbers, that's their strategy. That's what's keeping them moving and keeping them to complete their task.
Cool. And then on to theme 5, which is partnership evaluation. Have you created measurable outcomes?
So the only thing that we are keeping up with are events. So if we have someone, for example, let's use the education ed fair that we did in 2019. That was the first one that I had done, and those are annual. We had 150 walk-ins that came into the building. Okay. The one before that, they thought they maybe had 50. Of that 150 individuals that came in to the ed fair, each school approximately had anywhere from 5 to 10 enrollments. Okay.
And then how do you evaluate your partnerships, which I think kind of goes into it? Enrollments?
Is enrollment. Mm-hmm.
Enrollments, okay. And then Theme number 6, equity inclusion. Have you introduced equity inclusion to your partnership, and how are they effectively accomplished?
I'm not sure about that one.
So, I mean, Air Force, we do this all the time anyways. So,
Okay.
so equity and inclusion. So we're, have you introduced equity and inclusion in your partnership? I would say, what would be another way of putting it? Asking the question. So these are like hot topic terms, right? So, how do you get basically everybody included, I guess, in marketing for school enrollment and within the partnership?
So each school, their enrollment periods are different.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, we'll use the Ed Fair. So we decided fall semester is the marketing term.
Mm-hmm.
So each of them have a different enrollment period, registration period.
Right.
So we had to come up with a date that would accommodate all 3 schools and still meet their mission of allowing a member or civilian person to enroll.
Okay.
So that's how we came about with the start of the Ed Fair.
Okay.
So that date will allow them to hit their mission of enrollment.
Okay, and then you actually just said how are they effectively accomplished? You can explain that.
Yeah.
Cool. On to theme number 7, partnerships, transitions, and endings. Is this an ongoing partnership or does it have an ending?
So the MOU probably does have an end date, but it can be renewed, I would assume, as long as they're meeting their mission. I don't know, I've not seen the actual MOU that the current schools have signed, so I'm not sure. I know for the mill TA side of the MOU, yes, they have to do it every year.
Okay. And then how have your partnerships transitioned, if they have transitioned?
I don't know that I would say they have transitioned, but every year we're growing.
Okay.
Our enrollments are growing every year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what happens when a partnership ends?
Okay, so we actually had one of those end right around the COVID time frame.
Okay.
We had a school, we had a 4th school, and the majority of their enrollments are online, which is a conflict when it came to the requirement that they had to meet with their MOU. So they have to have so many in-person students there in our building a semester. So as those students were enrolling, they were enrolling online and not in person. So that caused them to not be able to fulfill their MOU. So when their MOU came to an ending, they left.
Okay.
So their enrollment stayed up and continued to go up, but it was enrollment in the online program and not in person.
Right, and yeah, it didn't meet the MOU, so.
Right.
All right, cool. I think that does it there, Naomi. So thank you very much. I'm gonna hit pause.